In this video, you will learn about different animation styles. First part is how to change the animation style of the structural framing from slide in to move in. So click the structural framing second floor task, then click edit animation. For style, change it to move in. Click move, then you can drag the blue arrow to the right and the green arrow upwards. Click finish when you're done. Then click preview to check. Then click apply when you're done. Now for the animation of the second floor, click edit animation. Style is slide in, and this is the default arrow direction. So let's change the arrow direction to this way. For animation direction, let's move it to the middle of north and east. Click preview, then click apply. Next is the stagger animation style. Let's use stairs as an example. So click the stairs task. Then next to element properties, click isolate selected objects, then click group selected objects. Next, click edit animation, then select stagger animations, click edit order, then the first stairs I click is the first one that will animate. So first, second, third, fourth, and then fifth. Click finish when you're done, click preview, then click apply. So to reveal everything, go to visibility override, then click this icon, reveal everything. Next part is how to animate together. So for the demolish existing building task, let's click this icon and change it to demolish task. Then click edit animation, click animate together, change it to vertical, then click preview. Then click apply. When you play it, it will be demolished from top to bottom. Next, let's animate the slab 1 floor. So click edit animation, and we can also try the style of expand from center. Then click preview. Or we can also choose no animation. Click preview. So when you're done, click apply. Next is how to change the animation style of multiple tasks. So let's search for framing, then click all the structural framing, click one task, hold shift, then click the last task, then click edit animation, change the style to move in, then click move, then drag the arrows, move it up and then to the right, then click finish. Click apply, then you can scroll to see the animation. In this video, you will learn about the color highlight. First part is to change by task types. Go 4D simulation and click settings. Then you will see highlight here. Click the plus icon. And for construct, under primary, click this paint icon. For example, we can change it to color green. Click OK. And you can also adjust the alpha. Alpha is the transparency. So now we can play it and highlight color is changed to color green. Next, you can also remove the color highlight. So for example, for the building, click on the task. And on the settings, click the plus icon of highlight. And for demolish, click this icon. Then click toggle highlight color. Now when we play it, it won't have highlight. Next is how to change the color highlight by all tasks. So under highlight, go to master override and click this paint icon. Then change color to blue, for example. Click OK. Click this icon again to close it. Then enable the master override. Then it will change here. And now all the highlights are blue. Next is how to change the color highlight by multiple tasks. For example, let's search framing. Click one task and you want to select all of this, so hold shift. Then click the third task. So all three will be selected. Next, press escape. Then click on the paint icon. Click toggle highlight color to remove the highlight color. Then all three tasks will change. Click the paint icon again to close this. Now we can play it to see if it works. Next is how to change the color highlight by object filter. So go to object filters and for example, let's change the wall to color red highlight. Let's also search wall here and then click the paint icon, change color, pick red and click OK. Then enable override the 4D highlight color of the selection and then close the paint icon. Now when we play it, the highlight color is changed to red. Now we can also go to fly through. So search in more option, go to construction and you can enable show filter color legend. Now you will see that the wall is red. Next you want the color highlight with no animation. Click the column second floor, then click edit animation, change the style to move in, then click move, then click adjust pivot and make sure it's in the middle here in elevation, then click finish, click preview. Click apply. In 4D simulation, you can play the 4D video to check if it's correct. In this video, you will learn how to add temporary equipment from the Fuser library to your project. First, go to more options and search for content library. In content library, search protective barrier. Then left mouse click on the thumbnail. Left mouse click again to place it on the ground. Then press escape. Now this is the manual way. If you want to add a lot of protective barrier, then go to more options and search for paths. Then you can click equipment, then create path. Then you want to create a path here. So left mouse click on the starting point. Also left mouse click on the edges until you form the path. Then press escape when you're done. Next, we want to add a protective barrier. So we go to more options and search for content library. And then left mouse click on the thumbnail. Put the barrier into the path until it turns yellow, then left mouse click. Next part is how to edit the path. So click this white pin and we can move the node. For example, we want to slant it to here, then it will move. We can click this again to edit. And for example, we want to insert node in segment. Then it will be like this. Left mouse click. Or if you want to delete the whole path, you can go to paths. You can press the rubbish pin here, or you can click the pin again, then click delete path. Next is how to add a new node to extend the path. So you can click this, then click add parent node. Then you will have an extended node. So for example, left mouse click here to add a new node. Press escape when you're done. Next is how to add a whole path to the task. So first go to 4D simulation, click this icon, create a new temporary task. You will see it on the bottom of the schedule, and click the white pin again, and you can click add to task. So now you can see that 108 protective barriers are added to the task.
In Fuser 2024, you can now stack multiple levels of scaffolding on top of each other. Look for the paths menu and select the equipment option. Then click create path. We will create an equipment path around this section of the building. Press escape to complete the path. Then go to the content library and search for scaffold. Some scaffold types are stackable, but others are not. We will use this bridge scaffold as an example. Click on the bridge scaffold icon and then click on the path to place it. Click on any pin and you will see the add level option under the placement submenu if this scaffold type is stackable. If the scaffolds are all over the place, you can toggle fit to path to recalculate the distance between each scaffold piece.
In this video, you will learn how to load a SketchUp model to Fuser. So if the Fuser library does not have the equipment you need, you can download the SketchUp from the 3D warehouse and load them to Fuser for placement. First step is to go to your training folder and go to the 3.2 SketchUp model folder, then drag the Office container to Fuser. If spawn in location is checked, the object will be loaded at its default location or in the location the placement zone specified by the GIS app. If load and family placement is selected, the object will be loaded into the family placement library. If specific coordinate is checked, the object will spawn at the location of the coordinate denoted by the XYZ text boxes. So in this case, we want to select the load and family placement. Then click OK. So once it's loaded, we can go to more options and search for family placement. Click imported model, the plus sign, and you will see the office container here. Left mouse click, and then you can put it on the side. So left mouse click to put it, and I want to put 3. So left mouse click. Press escape when you're done. Next, you can click on the model. Then you can make use of the move tool or the rotate tool. For example, I can move the y-axis. I can look at site and elevation. You can also click this icon. For each of these tools, you can toggle whether you're editing the pivot point or the object itself. Click finish when you're done. Then we want to select all these. Hold shift, left mouse click, left mouse click. Then we can go back to 4D simulation. So we can add these to the task. Click this icon, create a new temporary task. Then click add selection. So the temporary task is the combination of the construction task and demolition task. First step is we go settings, then autofill duration should be enabled. Then let's change the duration to 100 days. Type 100D, click enter. Right click to unselect. Notice that the site offices only pops out. This is because when you click the calendar, this is May 28, the construction start, and the construction finish is the same time. Also for this, the demolition finish and demolition start is at the same time. So for instance, these site offices take 5 days to install. So it starts the installation on May 28, and you want to give it 5 days. So click OK, then click June 4 as the construction finish. Then click OK. Then for this calendar, the finish, we want to give it 5 days to remove. So when you click OK, demolition start is October 8. Right mouse click, then scroll the timeline to see that it will animate. In this video, you will learn about 3D location marker, which is a caption that is attached to a specific object. Their visibility can be toggled at different times during a fly-through video to label different methodology or objects in your model. First part is how to create a 3D location marker. Make sure lesson 4.1 Fuser cache file is open. For example, we want to label the structural column in the first floor. Left mouse click on the structural column, cancel first. Under element properties, click 3D location marker create. Then here we can write a caption, column 1F. Then let's do the same for the other columns and other floors. Click the second floor, click cancel, click here, rename to column 2F, then do the same thing for the third floor column. Then let's click on column 1F. Then we can edit the font and the color. For example, let's change the font to Arimo. Font style is bold, then size is 30. Click OK. Then we can click this paint icon and for example, change it to white. Click OK. And we can choose to enable the shadow. This is the padding horizontal, while this is the padding vertical. The style drop-down menu controls where the caption box appears with relation to the line. So this is top, bottom, and then center. The icon controls what kind of icon is used to show what object the caption is describing. So this is circle, square, here, triangle, and the width slider controls the width of the line. Next is when appearing and hiding 3D location markers, they will animate. So the animation tab controls the animation. So the style can be the default or the unfurled. Text direction can be left to right to left, or bottom to top. If you don't want any animation, you can pick none. And for fade out, you can pick reverse or none. And this is the animation duration. So let's make it stay to 3 seconds. So if you want to see your animation, go to more options and search for fly through. Then go to visibility. First, let's create a keyframe. Click the first keyframe, then append new node. Then click on the next keyframe, and under Fuser content, hide the 3D location marker, and then append new node. So now you will see the exit animation. Then let's go back to the first keyframe to show it, and then let's close this first. If you want to go back to the 3D location marker, you can still search it in more options. Next, let's try a different type of animation. For example, let's change it to default. Text duration is bottom to top, fade out, stay reversed, and the animation duration will be changed to 6 seconds. So click enter to see the animation. Next is the box, which contains settings that change the background and border. So the paint icon picks a color for the background or border respectively. For the background, for example, let's pick yellow. Click OK, and the alpha slider adjusts the transparency of the background. For border, for example, let's pick blue. Click OK, and the width slider controls the width of the border. And the rounded corners toggles whether the border of the 3D marker is rounded. For media, an image can be applied to the background of a 3D marker, so use the media tab to manage images in 3D location markers. So you can pick an image by clicking on this icon. So for example, let's add this image, click open, then the image will appear here. You can remove the caption, you can adjust the alpha, which is the transparency, and also the size. You can click on trash bin to remove the previously loaded image. So for 3D space, normally 3D location markers are displayed in screen space. However, 3D markers can be displayed in 3D space. When 3D location markers are in 3D space, they will no longer follow the screen space of the user. Instead, they will hover in the location they are placed like a physical object. Additionally, no lines are drawn to the object the marker is attached to. So for example, this is what it looks like when it's disabled, and if we enable it, it will attach to the column object. So next is the display distance, which changes the distance of the 3D location marker when displayed in 3D space. So I clicked on apply to all markers so that the column 1F style will be same as the column 2F and 3F. So decrease the display distance and zoom in, and we still won't see the markers. But if we zoom out and increase the distance, then we can still see it from a distance. So let's try to put it in the middle, and it will appear in a certain distance. The fade at display distance is the fadeaway effect if it disappears. Next, click the banner, then click move, so you can move around the banner. You can also delete or move it to starting point. So left mouse click on any area, and the starting point will move there. Lastly, you can click preview to preview the animation.
In 2024, you can drag the 3D markers to move them around in 3D space. The position of the icons can also be modified by dragging them. In addition, you can now change the line color. In fly-through view, you can also now update the position of the 3D location markers.
In this video, you will learn about the 4D simulation video. First part is how to set the duration of the 4D simulation video. In 4D simulation, click time controls. And for playback duration, we can set it to 20 seconds to create a 20-second video. Enable use duration, change this to 20, then change this to seconds. So when we play the 4D simulation video, overall it's 20 seconds. Next part is how to auto-generate a 4D cinematic video using Flythrough. Flythrough is used to create and export videos of your 4D sequence. From this menu, you can access many other apps and bind them to frames in the Flythrough tool, giving you full control of your animation. These Flythrough animations can be exported as MP4 or an FMP, also known as Fuser Movie Project, for file sharing and converting to interactive VR videos. So first, go to More Options and search for Flythrough. Shown below is a video timeline, which is used to create your video animation. Each of the frames can be populated with a snapshot of the current 3D view. When populated, a frame is considered a node. The tool automatically transitions between nodes, and if there are empty frames in between nodes, the transition will have a longer duration. Next, go to Construction, then click Auto Generate 4D Cinematic. Click OK, move this to the beginning, then play the video. So in this Auto Generate 4D Cinematic, I can still change the angle. For example, in this keyframe, I want to show the building. So click Append New Node, and then in this keyframe, I can go back here, click Append New Node. For example, in this keyframe, I want to copy this angle to here. So I can click this keyframe, hold the Alt button, and then click this keyframe, then click Retake Selected Node. So the camera won't move because it's the same angle. So in the next part of the video, we want to create a video manually. So make sure you click New to start a new movie project, then click OK. So in Construction, for example, let's go to Day 1, and then click a new keyframe, click Append New Node. But next we want to add a caption here, a logo here, plus also edit this text. So let's go to Annotate to add a caption, type Fuser Training Project. Let's change it to shadow, click the paint icon to change the color. Let's choose orange, click OK. Click here, font style is Arial, font style is bold, size is 36, then click OK. We can drag this to the middle, then go back to Construction. Let's change the color as well. Change to shadow, orange, click OK. Font is Arial, font style is bold, size is 32. Now we can see it clearly. So this is to show the date, which is November 15, 2021. It is week 1, day is Monday, time is 10 a.m., and then it's day 1. Next, we want to add a caption here. Go to Annotate, click Insert Still Image, then go to the 4.7 logo folder. Click this, click Open, change it to 30%, click Enter, drag it to the right side. Now we want to save this scene, so click Retake Selected Node. Now let's go back to Construction. In here, you can add the 4D schedule. Show Task toggles the display of the task table in the Gantt chart.
In Fuser 2024, there is now an option to show only the Gantt chart in Flythrough. You can reposition the chart by left-clicking and dragging it around, or resize it by dragging the edges of the window.
The toggle graph displays the 5D graph. Show task list toggles display of all active tasks in the current frame. Planned versus actual toggles display both the planned and the actual 3D view in split screen. You can also change it to horizontal, or you can swap the position of the actual and planned. Toggle progress displays the progress bar, and you can drag it to the middle. For zoom, you can change it to week, month, or year. You can also choose to hide the date text on the progress bar, which is these ones. And you can also change the progress color. For example, I want to change the bar color to blue, then click OK. The Show Filter Color legend displays filter highlight color set in your construction project. For playback calendar, you can choose which calendar to show. In this standard calendar, there are no Saturday and Sunday, so all activities on that day won't be shown on this 4D video. When you enable show zones, the different zones will appear. So for our video, we want to enable toggle progress and choose to show it yearly. Also for fixed sun position, make sure it's enabled, or else if it's disabled, then it will look like this. So for face and face filter, we don't need to do anything for this. Here, the face drop-down menu selects a face specified by your Revit project to be displayed. The face filter drop-down menu specifies if faces before or after the current face are displayed. Now we can create a video. For example, for this keyframe, I want to show this day, starting February, and I want to change the angle to here. So I can click Append New Node. And for the next keyframe, I want to move it to this angle, and I want to move it to this day. So click Append New Node again. And for the last keyframe and the last day, I can go here. Then I want to zoom in and click Append New Node. So for example, I want to make it 10 seconds. Then I can move the keyframe until it's 10 seconds. And for the caption, notice that it's only here. So I can delete the yellow box, click delete on your keyboard. And then I can extend this to the end. Click this keyframe, you will see that it's here. And for example, you want to show the 3D location marker in the video, you can go to Visibility, expand Fuser Content. And then for example, in this keyframe, I want to show it, so click this box. Then click Retake Selected Node to save it. And then in the very last keyframe, I want it to be hidden. So I can click this keyframe, then click Hide, then click Append New Node. But then I want to maintain it as hidden for one more keyframe, click Append New Node. Then for the caption, we can delete this, you can click this box, click Delete on your keyboard for this as well. Then we can drag this to the end. I want to make it shorter again, so I can move the keyframe. We can make sure if every keyframe is correct. So notice here, the 3D location is shown, so you can hide it. Click the new keyframe. So we can play again from the beginning. If you're done with your video, you can click Save here, and it will be saved as an FMP file. If you want to make it high quality, click Render. So for the highest quality you can have, you can click High. For anti-aliasing, this smooths edges, so higher degrees will increase the overall render time. For now, we can click None. And video frame rate, let's pick 60 FPS. For the highest resolution, 4K, and video aspect ratio can remain 16:9. Then click Save. Then the video will be saved as an MP4.
In 2024, we can now include construction data in a high-definition screenshot. For this video, we will go through the options for including construction data. Toggle Show Egress Path to show all the egress routes in the scene. Turn off the Show Pins and Lines options under Path Settings to hide the path pins. The Show Tasks or Graph checkbox places either the Gantt chart and the task list or the graph from the construction schedule into the HD screenshot. The Show Date checkbox toggles whether the date and time captions from 4D are displayed in the screenshot. The Planned versus Actual checkbox toggles whether the PVA view is enabled. The Construction screenshot will stretch the timeline, Gantt chart, or the graph across both views. If a construction animation is loaded into 4D, the date in the construction schedule will affect object visibility regardless of whether the object is enabled in the HD screenshot. Objects are only visible in the HD screenshot if they are already being built or not demolished at a specified point of time. In this example, the building on the right is being demolished and it will not be visible in the screenshot after the 17th of December, 2021.
In this video, you will learn how to update the schedule. So in 4D simulation, let's first update the schedule by clicking load and then click schedule XML. Click load, and in our lesson 4 training folder, go to 4.4 updated schedule, then click MS project updated, click open. So the load options dialog box appears after selecting a schedule with a file browser if your project is already populated with a schedule. So the options here in the menu will allow you to control how tasks stored in your imported schedule merge with your current schedule. Append adds the task in your schedule to the end of your current schedule. Overwrite replaces the current schedule with the imported schedule, and it will remove the 3D objects from all tasks. And merge by ID updates tasks with a common ID to the task you are importing. The schedule will keep object assignments when merge by ID is selected. If you want to update the schedule, you should use merge by ID. In this video, you will learn how to update the 3D models. So for this, the IFC, SketchUp, and FBX model update method is the same. Make sure the 4.1 Fuser cache file is open. So for example, we have an updated SketchUp model without this part. So click on any part of the building, and under element properties, click reload imported model. Go to 4.2 updated SketchUp model, then upload this building 1 underscore updated version. Then click yes. Now you will notice that this building doesn't have the front part. In the next part of the video, you will learn how to update the Revit model to Fuser. So right now the building is like this, so the roof is not extended here. So in the lesson 4 folder, when you open the Revit 2022 RC Advanced Sample Project updated version, notice that the roof is extended here. So we want to update this model to Fuser. Click Fuser plugin, then launch Fuser 2023 Virtual Design Construction. Click OK. Then the Fuser project merge will appear. For Fuser, this is the cache file we're using. Then Revit, this is the updated model, and make sure the title is the same. If you want to use Revit only, then click Use Revit. So meaning it will override what we did in Fuser. For example, we split the walls. When we click Use Fuser only, then it won't use the updated version of the Revit model. Only the split objects will remain. So if you want to keep both Fuser and Revit, then click Revert to default. So when you're done, click Finish. In this video, you will learn how to create a schedule in Fuser. So there are 2 methods, and first we will do the first method, which is to create a schedule from the 3D models. So make sure the 4.8 cache file in the training folder is open. Then open 4D simulation and click New Project. Now we can change the start and finish date. For example, the finish date, let's change it to December 2. For the start date, for example, April 3. Then click OK. Then click Calendars, and you want to create a 5-day work calendar. So click New, then double click this, rename it to 5-day work. Click Enter, click Sunday, click Control, then click Saturday, then click the Delete button. Then you'll notice that the days under Sunday and Saturday are color red, meaning that it's a non-working day. Now we want to edit the working hours for the 5 days. So click Monday, hold Shift button, then click Friday to select the 5 days. Then let's double click this 5 p.m. Let's change it to 6 p.m. Click Enter. So the hours per day is 9, and after calculating, this is 45. Change this to 180, and this is 2,346. For default calendar, let's change it to the 5-day work, and then playback calendar will remain 24/7 calendar. Now we can close this. Then we want to create a task for the structural foundations. So first click one structural foundation, click all type current level. So all will be selected, and then in element properties, click this icon, then click the first icon. Then you will see that the objects are already added to the task. Then we want to change the duration of the task. So go to settings and enable autofill duration. Click yes, double click this, type 30D, click enter, and the duration is changed to 30 days. Then click the slab, do the same thing, click this icon next to element properties, click the first icon to create a task, then double click this, we can change it to 5 days, click enter. Next you want to select all the columns in the first floor. So click one column, then click all type current level to select all. Then again next to element properties, click this icon, create task from selected objects, then click the first icon. Then change it to 10 days. Click enter. Notice that the start date of each task is the same. This is because the constraint type is as soon as possible. So we want to create a relationship for the 3 tasks, wherein this task has to finish for the next task to start. So click the first task, hold Shift button, then click the last task, then click create a chain of predecessors from selected tasks, like finish to start, click create. So you will see here that the 3 tasks are now connected and it has different start dates. And when you click the calendar, this is the default calendar we created. So the next part of the video is the second method, which is to create a task first. So we can click this 3 times, create a new task, then double click and rename it to foundation, then change this to 30 days, rename this as slab, change it to 5 days, rename this to column, then change it to 10 days. Then click foundation, hold Shift, then click column, then click create a chain of predecessors from selected tasks, select finish to start, then click create. Now there's a relationship between the 3 tasks. Next, you want to create a summary task for the 3 tasks, so click foundation, and then click create new task. Then rename it to structural. Then we want to move it up, so click move selected task up. So next we want to make foundation, slab, and column be the child task of structural. Press and hold Shift, and then click column, then click indent the selected task. So when you click this, the dates are automatically updated, and notice that the duration here is the sum of the durations. So here in settings, the auto calculate WBS dates is enabled, meaning when we change this date to June 9, click OK, then the duration for structural will automatically change to 50 days. But when we disable this, for example, let's change the date to June 16, click OK, duration for structural doesn't change. Next, you can also further break down the column tasks, so you can click this icon, create children under the selected tasks and transfer links to them, then type 3, click OK. Next, you can change the color of the task, so you can click this paint icon, and then unclick this, so you can click override color. For example, let's change it to green, click OK, and then click OK again. Then let's do the same for structural, click the paint icon, click this, click override color, then click OK.
In Fuser 2024, shortcuts have been added to speed up task creation. First, enable macro option for the schedule. Next, go to settings and check autofill duration. Then, we will create a new task. Rename this task as foundation. Press enter to create another new task. Rename the new task as slab. Press enter again to create a new task, and rename it as column. Press escape to confirm the name. You can press shift and enter to return to the last task. Change the duration for the foundation task to 30 days, and press tab to go to start date. Change it to April 3rd, 2023. The end date should be autofilled. Change the duration for the slab task to 10 days, and 5 days for the column task. Next, select these 3 tasks and go to the third icon here. Select the Finish Start option and click Create. These 3 tasks should follow one after another. In 2024, we can now calculate the expected duration of a task using data stored in the bin properties of objects assigned to tasks. First, go to the Foley Simulation menu. Then, go to the Edit Columns submenu. We will look for the Calculated Duration column. Click Hide all custom columns, and also hide all the other columns that are not related to the planned date. We can now see the Calculated Duration column here. Click Finish. Then, select the column task for level 1. Click the Rate of Work submenu. Click Create to create a new entry. So if we click one of the columns, we can see that the concrete is cast in place. So the unit here would be volume. The classification would be category. Value is structural columns. And we will type in 1.5 cubical meters here. Press Calculate. The total amount of calculated hours will appear here. We can now compare this value with the planned schedule. Fuser 2024 now has auto-generated keyframe animations so that you can further speed up your workflow. This can be useful in situations where the action is standardized and/or repetitive. For this section, we'll repeat the same mobile crane animation as demonstrated earlier, but with the auto-generated keyframe animations. First, click the 2 structural framings from the construction task. Click Find Tasks, select the task, and right-click in the scene to deselect all. Choose only the 2 structural framings and click Clear Selected Objects. Make sure micro mode is enabled. Click on the flag icon to create a staging task. Place the pin on the ground, north of the framing's original position. Click Apply to use default settings. Click on the 2 framings as well as the staging task and click the Add Selection icon. Right-click to have the framings show at their initial position. Go to the content library and search for LTM1070. Click on the icon to create a vehicle instance and click a point on the ground to place it. Press Escape to confirm the placement. Under the auto-generated keyframe animation section, click on the Extend Arm track to extend both arms and legs. These white shadows can be removed by toggling the animation helper. Enable Auto Grab. Then click Grab Object. Use the pen tool to select one of the framings. Click OK. If Auto Grab is off, then there will be no transition for the pickup. Next, add a keyframe. Locate the hook. And drag the slider to the left to bring it up. You can toggle Operation Radius to visualize the area of the crane reach. Click Release Object, then select Original for drop location. Click OK. To pick up the second piece of framing, click Add. Locate the hook component and drag the slider to the left to bring it up. Then click Grab Object and select the piece of framing on the ground. Click OK. Click Add. Then retract the hook by a little again. Click Release Object. Use Original for drop location and click OK. This time we do not need to retract the hook. Go to Auto-Generated Keyframe Animations and click Retract Arm. Locate the last frame and click Retract Legs. The last step is to add the animations into the schedule. First, make sure that the date of the staging task is the same as that of the construction task, which is 25th of June, 8 AM to 5 PM. Then click the LTM and click on the tractor icon to create a new equipment task. The dates will also be 25th of June, 8 AM to 5 PM. With the LTM and task still selected, click the Add Selection icon. Select the current task and then toggle Hide when task finishes. Click OK. Finally, press play to preview the animation.
The purpose of this lesson is to learn how to create an animation in which a tower crane picks up an item carried in by a truck. This will be similar to lesson 5.1, but for this animation, we will need to have 2 vehicles interacting with each other. The key points of this lesson will be finding and removing items from a construction task, creating and adding items to a staging task, creating your vehicle animations, and creating your equipment task, and adding your animations. First, we need to find and remove items from a construction task. As we learned in lesson 5.1, we first need to remove our objects from their assigned construction task in our schedule so that we can put them in an animation instead. To start, open your 4D simulation app and scroll to the beginning of your schedule. Click on the object to highlight it, and go to Find Tasks in your 4D simulation app. The task will be filtered to include only those with that object assigned to it. Alternatively, you can type the task name in the search bar here. If you click on the task, it will highlight every object in that task. To remove only the beams you want included in your animation, unhighlight your objects by pressing the Escape button, click on your first beam, hold Control, and click on your second beam. When you have your item selected, go to Clear Selection. You can see how many items removed by referencing this number here. You can also see that these items are no longer highlighted. To show all your tasks again, clear your search bar by pressing this X. The next step is creating a staging task to hold these items before they go into our animation. A staging task is a good way to show where the items will be placed when they are waiting to be installed on the site. Once the staging task ends, the items will return to their place in the model. Because our truck will be carrying in our beams, it doesn't matter where our pin goes, since they won't actually be sitting in the staging area. First, create a new staging task. Remember to highlight the task that you want your new task to be near, as it will be created underneath instead of going to the bottom of your schedule. Click Create a New Staging Task, and place your red pin. As I said, it doesn't matter where you choose to place it. You can also hide your pin by going to Settings and unchecking Show Staging Pins. We can also relabel our task name. Now we need to add our beams to our staging task. Highlight your beam, hold Control and highlight the second, and click Add Selection. As you can see, there are two objects in our staging task. We're going to change the start and finish date to match that of our construction task, June 25th at 8 a.m. to June 25th at 5 p.m. Now we need to make our vehicle animation. For this, we are going to have to animate two separate vehicles and make sure that their timings sync up correctly. Start by closing your 4D simulation app, opening your content library, and searching for the long truck. Select the truck and place it in your scene. Press Escape to stop placing. To move our truck, use these pivot arrows, and we can also rotate. Once it's in place, click Finish.
Now let's make our animation. Highlight the truck to open the element properties in our animation creator, and select Grab Object. If you hold Control while you click, you can select them both at one time. Now I want to reposition the beams so that they fit differently on the bed of the truck. I'll go to Move Object, select both at the same time, and rotate them. Click Finish when you're done. Let's add a keyframe and move our truck forward.
In FuseSet 2024, we can now use animated linked paths to simulate site logistics. Search for the Paths menu. Select Animation Linked Path, and then click Create Path. Left mouse click to place our first pin near the long truck and the last pin near the building in construction. Press Escape to complete our path. Click the long truck. Reposition it to the starting point of the path and orient it in the right direction. Then click Join Path. Use the pen tool to select the last pin. The truck is now attached to the path.
Add another keyframe, and we will release our objects. Since the crane will be picking them up one by one, I'm going to release them separately. Select our first object and choose Custom Drop. This allows us to leave the beam where it is so that the crane can pick it up there. Add a new keyframe and release our second object, again to a custom location. Now that we've finished our truck animation, we'll add in our tower crane. Go back to your content library, and we're going to search for tower crane. Select the one you need and click to place it in the scene. Press Escape to finish placing. Now I want to adjust the height and the length of the jib. Click on your crane to open the element properties and go to Adjust Crane Height. We're going to change to 3 segments. Now we can go to Adjust Jib Length and also increase by 1 more segment. You can use the operation radius to test the reach of your crane. Both our structural framing and our original location are within the operation radius of our crane. Now we'll start our animation by first adding a new keyframe. And we're going to rotate the arm. We can either click on the arm here or in the element properties, Tower Crane Rotate. And we'll turn our wheel. Add a new keyframe and select Grab Object. Make sure you first have Auto Grab and Release enabled. We'll choose our first piece of structural framing. Remember, Combine Animation will make the movements of the crane combine for the duration that you select. And a point grab means that the object will be picked up at the place where you click it. If you don't select point grab, it will grab it at the midpoint of the object. Now that our structural framing is grabbed, highlight our hook so that we can add a new keyframe and move our hook up. Add a new keyframe, and we will release our object. This time we'll release it to its original location, which will put it back in its place in the model. Now we repeat the process with our second beam. Add a new keyframe, and choose Grab Object. Select your structural framing, and we need to move the hook up. Add a new keyframe, and lift our hook. Add a new keyframe, and release to its original location. And we will raise our hook once again. Now let's test our animation by playing it back. The beams don't show when we play it back because we have not attached the animation to a point in the schedule yet. Once we put it in the schedule, the beams will show up the place that they're supposed to be when the animation plays. Now that we have our animations created, there's one important thing we need to address. Because we have two vehicles working together, we need to make sure that each animation has its timing synced up properly, so that when the truck releases the beams, the crane will then pick it up. The second issue is that of the total length of the animation. We are going to be putting both vehicle animations into the same equipment task. That means they will last the same length of time. Since currently, our truck animation is shorter than our crane animation, the truck will slow down its animation to fill out the length of time. So the easiest thing to do is make sure that the total time is the same. As you can see, the total time for our crane animation is 20 seconds. If we scroll to the beginning, we'll find out that the crane picks up its first beam at 5 seconds, and it picks up its second beam at 10 seconds. Let's adjust our truck to match our crane. We need to add 17 more seconds, and also make sure that the first release does not happen until 5 seconds. We will insert a new node so that our release happens before the crane picks it up. Now our first release is at 4 seconds, and our crane will pick it up at 5 seconds. Let's insert a new node for our second release. Now our truck will release our beam at 9 seconds, and our crane will pick it up at 10 seconds. Now we need to make sure that the entire length matches the crane animation length, which was 20 seconds. Let's insert a new node on the end, actually 2, so that we can edit the time of the node. This will be faster than just clicking 10 keyframes. We'll edit this node to last 10 seconds. Now our total time is 20 seconds, just like the total time of the crane. The last thing left to do is to put our vehicle animations into an equipment task in our schedule. Open your 4D simulation app, make sure our structural framing task is highlighted so that our equipment task will appear underneath it, and click to create a new equipment task. We need to change the time of our equipment task. We're going to have ours match our staging task and our construction task. June 25th from 8 to 5 p.m. We can rename our task. Highlight the task and one of your pieces of equipment and go to Add Selection. We're going to hide when task finishes. Otherwise, our vehicles will stay on the site until the end of the complete schedule. And now we're going to add our truck. Highlight the truck, click Add Animation, hide when task finishes. Okay. As you can see, we have 2 animations added to our equipment task. Let's play our simulation to see if everything worked. The objective of this lesson is to create an animation that uses 3 different vehicles and align them with each other correctly. We will be using a long bed truck, a forklift, and a crawler crane to move pieces of structural framing into place. As before, we need to first find the objects we will use in our animation and remove them from their construction tasks before we can add them to our animation. Start by opening the 4D simulation app and scrolling back to the beginning of our schedule. When we see the items we want, click on one of the pieces and go to Find Tasks. The task will be filtered to include only those with that object assigned to it. Click on the task and it will highlight every object in that task. To remove only the beams you want to include, unhighlight your objects by clicking the Escape button. Click on your first beam, hold Control and click on your second beam until you have them both highlighted. Now let's go to Clear Selection. And as you can see here, we went from 119 to 117, and our 2 beams are no longer highlighted. To show all your tasks again, clear the search bar by pressing this X here. Now we need to create our staging task. Remember that if you have a task highlighted in the schedule when you create a new task, it will appear directly underneath it instead of going to the bottom of your schedule. We would like our staging task to appear underneath our construction task. Click Create a New Staging Task and place your red pin. In this situation, it doesn't matter where we place our pin. Since the structural framing beams are not going to be shown in their staging site, but instead attached to vehicles in our animation, we can put the pin wherever we like. Now we can rename our task and change the dates of our staging task. We would like the dates to match exactly with that of our construction task. June 30th from 8 to 5. Next, we'll add our structural framing beams to the staging task. Select both of them by clicking, holding down Control, and clicking the second, and go to Add Selection. As you can see, our 2 beams have been added to our staging task. Remember, as with any task, a right click will take you to the beginning of the task, and a left click will take you to the end. If you cannot find your beams on the site, you can always right click the staging task to show them. We can also hide our red pin by going to Settings and unchecking Show Staging Pins. Now we will place our vehicles on the site. Close your 4D simulation app and open your content library. We'll search for each vehicle. The forklift. Click to place it in your scene and press Escape to stop placing. Our crawler crane. The long truck. And our bolts. Next, I'll refit each vehicle so that we have it in place for our animation. Click on the vehicle and use our pivot arrows to rotate or move them. Click Finish when it's in the right place. We'll start first with our truck animation. Select your truck to open up our animation creator. We're going to start by grabbing our object. Control-click lets you grab them both at once. And we're going to reposition the structural framing beams on the bed of the truck by clicking Move Object. And rotating them around. Next, we'll add a new keyframe and move our truck forward. Add a new keyframe, and we're going to release the objects. Since our forklift will pick them both up together, we can release them at the same time. We will release it to a custom location, which means we manually place it. This allows us to leave it where it is so that the forklift can pick it up. Remember, we can play through our animation by clicking play here, or we can also click through the nodes to see the different positions. These symbols underneath signify where we picked up our object and released it. Next, we'll make our forklift animation. Click on your forklift to open its animation creator. I'm going to start by moving it over a little bit to get it in line. And now we'll add a keyframe for our first movement. Before I begin, I sometimes like to uncheck the toggle animation helper. When this is checked, it creates a shadow that shows you the previous movements of the vehicle as relates to each node. But if you click on a shadow, it will jump back to that node in your animation creator. Let's start by highlighting our forklifts at forklift truck lift, or we can click on them here. In order to help us understand what height we need our forklift to be, we can use the tool Enable Views. This will show us a top view and a side view of our forklift. You can scroll through to get different angles, or change the transparency of the other objects. Now we'll be able to see how high we need our forks to go to be able to pick up the beams. We'll raise them here. Add a keyframe, and move your forklift forward. Add a keyframe, and we'll grab the objects. Add another keyframe, and we'll move our forklift back. As you can see, the beams are sitting right on top of the forks. Add another keyframe, and we'll lower our forks. Add a keyframe, and we'll release both objects at the same time. We're going to release them to a custom location so that we can leave them where they are for the crane to pick up. We'll add one more keyframe and move our forklift back. Let's play back our animation to make sure it looks okay. Because we haven't tied our animations to the schedule yet, the beams aren't appearing in the right place at the beginning of our animation. This will look fine once we put it into the schedule. Now let's move on to our crane animation. We'll start by increasing the height of our crane. Go to Adjust Tower Height, and we're going to change from 1 to 3 segments. I'm going to move the crane a little bit closer to our beams to make sure that it can reach. Use the pivot arrows to move your crane, and click Finish when it's in the right place. Now to start our animation, let's add a keyframe, and we're going to make sure we have Auto Grab and Release enabled, and grab our object. I'm going to click on the bolts where I want the crane to pick them up. Remember, combined animation means that the movements of the crane will combine for the duration that you set it to, and point grab means that our crane will pick up the object at the point where we clicked it. I'm going to select On for point grab. Now let's add another keyframe and raise our hook. Add a keyframe, and we're going to auto grab our first piece of framing. Grab object. We're going to select the middle point. And now we need to turn the bolts so that they're picking up our beam correctly. Click on Move Object and select your bolts and turn them. Click Finish. Now that our beam is grabbed, we'll raise the hook again. Remember to add a keyframe first. Add a keyframe and release the object. We're going to release the beam back to its original location, which means it will be put in its place in the model. Now let's play back to see how that looks. Remember, because it's not tied to the schedule yet, the beams are not appearing in the place that they will eventually appear in the schedule. Because we're using the bolts, our auto release is not as straightforward as it normally is. We could have just manually released the beam to its spot, but by doing the auto release, we have the nodes created that will make the rest of the release easier for us. So we have node 12, 13, and 14 already created. What we're going to do is delete 15, where the beam is actually released, and from here we're going to manually place the beam. Let's start by turning our bolts in our beam the right direction. Click Move Object, select your bolts, and turn it. Click Move Object again, select our beam, and rotate it as well. Now we'll add a new keyframe, and we will manually move the beam into place. It might be useful to enable our views again that we used with our forklift. This will show us the exact location that we need to shift our crane in order to put it in the correct spot. Let's start by rotating our crane. Crawler crane rotate. As you can see, the beam is pretty much in line with where it needs to be, but it's a little off on this side. Let's try moving the arm to see if we can shift it in the right place. And I'm going to turn our object a little bit to straighten it out. Click Move Object, Control click your bolts and your beam. It's fairly close, so I think that's going to look okay when we put it into place. Add a new keyframe. Make sure Auto Grab and Release Enabled is unchecked, and release your object to its original location. Let's see how that looks. Now we have our bolts after the release ending up where we want them to be. We're going to add a keyframe and repeat this process with our second beam. Let's go back and check Auto Grab and Release Enabled, and we're going to grab our second beam. Remember to do a point grab. Once again, we need to turn our bolts. Add a new keyframe and raise our hook. Add a new keyframe, and let's do our auto release. Back to its original location. We'll go back a few frames and play that through. As before, we need to delete our node where the object was released and manually place the object. I'm going to go ahead and delete node 24 as well, because I like where we ended on node 23 a little bit better. So we'll add a new keyframe, turn our bolts and our beam with Move Object, and Control click to select them both, and we'll rotate them both together. I'm going to go ahead and enable the views again to help guide us to the right spot. It looks like we're going to have to shift our crane forward a little. Let's start by rotating the crane. As you can see, we're still not quite in the right spot. So I'm going to add a keyframe and move our crane forward just a little bit. Add another keyframe, and I will lower our hook. I think that's pretty close, so let's add a keyframe, make sure that Auto Grab and Release Enabled is not checked, and we will release our object, the beam, to its original location. Now let's go back a few nodes and see how that looks. Okay, let's add one more keyframe and raise our bolts. I believe our video ended with one more rotation of the crane, so let's add another keyframe, go to Crawler Crane Rotate, and add a keyframe to finish. Now that we have our animations created, as always when we have more than one vehicle interacting with each other, we need to make sure that the timing is correctly synced for all the vehicles. Let's start with our truck. So as we can see, our truck is releasing the beams to the forklift on node 3. That's the second. And we have our forklift picking up our beams at node 4, which is 3 seconds. So the truck will release at 2 seconds, and the forklift will pick up the beams at 3 seconds. That works perfectly. Now our forklift will be releasing the beams at 7 seconds. So we need to make sure that the crawler crane does not pick up the beams until after 7 seconds. So our first pickup comes at 9 seconds. So I think we are all synced up. Now there is one other timing issue that we need to address. This has to do with the overall length of each animation. In this scenario, we will put all the animations into the same equipment task. This means our 3 animations, although they are currently different lengths of time, will adapt to fill the set duration of the task. The easiest way to adjust for this is by making each animation the same length of time. So our longest animation is our crane animation, which is 28 seconds long. Our forklift is only 8 seconds. So I'm going to add a new keyframe on the end, and I'm going to adjust the length of the keyframe by double-clicking this number down here. And now we're at 28 seconds, equal to that of the crawler crane. Let's do the same for our truck. Add a keyframe on the end. 2 keyframes actually, so that we can adjust this time. And now we're at 28 seconds as well. Our last step is to create an equipment task to put our vehicle animations into. It is possible to put each vehicle animation in a different equipment task and set them at different times, but then it would be necessary to adjust both for the duration of the equipment task and the durations of the animation in making sure they sync up. For this situation, one equipment task will be more simple. We're going to find our staging task and our construction task, highlight it so that when we create a new equipment task, it will appear directly underneath instead of going to the bottom of our schedule. I'm going to label our task, and I'm going to change the start and finish time. I want it to happen on the same day as our other task, June 30th, but instead of 8 to 5, I'll choose 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock for this one. That way it will still happen within the time span of the other tasks. The next step is to add in our vehicle animations. We can do them separately or all at once by control-clicking each vehicle. Go to Add Selection. As you can see, we have our 3 animations, we're going to hide when task finishes. This means that all the vehicles will disappear when the equipment task is over. As you can see, we have 3 objects added to our equipment task, our 3 animations. Now let's go back a little and see how our animations turned out. The objective of lesson 5.4 is to create a tandem vehicle animation, where 2 vehicles work together to interact with 1 object. We will be animating 2 crawler cranes to pick up 1 piece of structural framing. It is necessary to first remove the objects we need for our animation from their construction task before we can add them to our animation. Start by opening the 4D simulation app. We need to first find the correct task in our schedule. We could first type the object name in the task filter, or we can scroll back in our schedule until we see the objects appear. Once you see your object, click on a piece of the structural framing and go to Find Task. The task will be filtered to include only those with this object assigned to it. Click on the task to highlight all the objects, and to remove only the beam you want to include, unhighlight the objects by pressing Escape, click on your single beam, and go to Clear Selection. As you can see, we have 1 less item in our task, and our object is no longer highlighted. To show all the task again, clear the filter by clicking X in the search bar. Now we need to create a staging task. This will hold our beam in place for our cranes to pick it up and install it on the site. We're going to start by highlighting our construction task because I want our staging task to appear underneath it instead of appearing at the bottom of the schedule. Go to Create a New Staging Task, and place your red pin. Now we can change the name of our staging task by double-clicking. And we need to also change the dates. I'm going to set the date to match that of our construction task, June 30th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Next, we need to add our beam to our task. Click on your beam, and make sure your task is highlighted, and go to Add Selection. Sometimes it's necessary to change the direction that the beam is staged. Typically, this is important when you are stacking multiple items. So we can change the number of items per row, the row direction, or the row stack direction. I'm going to change the row direction from east to north to show you, and click Apply. As you can see, the orientation has changed. However, since I don't want our beam jutting into our building, let's change it back to east. We can also hide our staging pin by going to Settings and unchecking Show Staging Pin. Remember that, as with any task, a right click will take you to the beginning of the task, and a left click will take you to the end. If you can't see your beam on the construction site, right click it, and you'll see it in the staging site. Now it's time to add our vehicles, so close your 4D app, and open your Content Library app. Search for Crawler Crane, select it, and click to place it on the site. Press Escape to stop placing. Now let's put our cranes in position. Click the Rotate tool, and rotate your crane around. I'm also going to move it back a little bit with the Move tool, using the pivot arrows, and do the same with our second crane. I'm also going to adjust the height of our cranes by going to Adjust Height, and changing from 1 to 5 segments. And I'll do the same with our other crane. If you'd like to ensure that your crane can reach your object and the installation site, we can use this Operation Radius tool, which shows us the reach of our crane. So if I go to the Crawler Crane arm, I can see that our crane can easily reach both the beam and the installation site. Now I think we're ready to start our animations. I'm going to close this to get it out of our way. And I'm going to turn off the Toggle Animation Helper. This is set on by default, and it creates a shadow that shows all the previous movements of the crane once you start animating. I like to turn it off because if you accidentally click on one of the shadows, it will jump back to that node, and it could mess you up a little bit while you're animating. So I personally don't always like to use it. So to make our animations, we need to animate each movement of the crane back and forth so that we can make sure that they sync up with each other. We'll start by adding a keyframe and doing an auto grab. So check Auto Grab and Release enabled, click Grab Object, and click your beam at the point where you want the crane to pick it up. So that when you select Point Grab On, the crane picks up the beam at the spot where you clicked on it instead of at the midpoint like normal. Let's play that back and see how it looked. So I'll go ahead and add another keyframe, and then jump over to our other crane to repeat this movement. Start by adding a keyframe, checking Auto Grab and Release enabled, grab object at the point where you want it to be picked up, point grab on, and we'll see if that matches. So our one problem with having both of these cranes grab our beam is that once we add them to the schedule at the same time, we can't have 2 vehicles picking up the same object. So we're actually going to go to this frame where our second crane picked up the beam, and we can see by this little symbol here, and we're going to delete this frame. Using the auto grab allowed us to create every frame leading up to the grab, but now we are going to continue the frames manually to mimic a grab. So I've added a keyframe here, and now I'm going to go to our first crane and play it through so that we can have our beam in place. So we're at node 5 for our first crane where the pickup happens. We'll go to our second crane in node 5. We're going to mimic that pickup. Click your hook and drop it down. It looks pretty close, but if you want it to be an exact match, we can look at the current value and match it to our first crane. So we're at 19.6. So I'll change this to 19.6 as well. Now we have our grab mimic, so I'm going to go back to our first crane by clicking on the hook, because in node 6, we are going to raise the hook. And we want to match the current value, 6.36, in our second crane. So I'm going to add a keyframe so that we're on node 6, select our hook, and go to 6.36. So now we have node 6 created for both. Let's go to our first crane, add a keyframe for node 7, and I'm going to do an auto release. So release object to its original location, which means it will be installed on the site. And let's see how that turned out. As you can see, the auto release animation did not turn out the way that we wanted it to. This is because the auto release is treating the beam as if it's being held by one crane and creating an animation based on that, when we want it to look as if it were being held by two. So I'm going to show you what happened when you do an auto release, and also how we can fix it. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these frames that have our auto release, and we are just going to start again doing a manual release. So to do this manual release, I'm going to use this tool, Enable Views. This pops out two windows, one showing a side view and one showing an overhead view of our site, and it's going to help us guide the beam into place and have a few different views at once. So with this tool, we can pop it out if you want to have a large window. So if you're working on two screens, this might be helpful for you. And we can also adjust the view by scrolling up and down and pointing at the place you want your view to go to. We can also change the transparency, as well as the different views. So now let's put our beam into place. I can rotate it over, and I'm also going to have to lower the crane arm. It looks like we've got it pretty close. I'm going to go ahead and lower the hook and see how that looks. We're a little off. You can always use your current values if you aren't able to be precise enough with the mouse. Oops. All right, it's in place, so I'm going to add another keyframe, uncheck auto grab and release enabled, and release the object. Let's see how that looks. Okay, the last thing to do is add a new keyframe, and we can raise our hook. Now we need to match those movements with our other crane. So I'm going to go back to node 7. So I'm going to start by rotating my crane and moving the arm down. And I'm going to see if we can lower a hook from here. A little bit off. So I think we've got it in place. I'm going to go ahead and add a new keyframe. Okay, so let's check our other crane to see about matching the node. So in node 8, we're still lowered. That's where our release happens. So I'm going to add another keyframe. Then we're going to match node 9. So let's see where our hook is at. 10.84. Sorry, wrong one. Our hook is at 0. Let's add a keyframe and change our hook value to 0. So now we should have both of our cranes matching the entire animation. And let's see how our second crane looks. Now that our animations are done, we're going to go back to our 4D simulation app and create an equipment task to put the animations in. So I have our staging task highlighted, and I'm going to click Create a New Equipment Task. I can rename it. And I'm going to change the dates. They're going to match the construction task and the staging task as well, June 30th from 8 to 5 p.m. In order to add our animations, Control-click on both cranes to highlight them both, and go to Add Selection. We're going to hide all when the task finishes, which means the crane will disappear once the tasks are over. And let's watch our animations one more time. Our final step is to create a chain of predecessors to link our 3 tasks together. So this can be important if your schedule gets updated and your construction task changes. You want to make sure that your staging task and your animation will stay with the same timing as your construction task. So we're going to highlight all 3 tasks by holding Shift and clicking our last task. And we're going to go down to create a chain of predecessors. Select Start, and click Create. And we also want to make sure that all 3 tasks have their constraint type listed as soon as possible. And that is how you create a tandem animation, 2 vehicles working together. I hope that was helpful.
This section explains the effects of schedule updates on microtasks. First, take note of the dates for the macrotasks as well as the microtasks. Turning on the scale microtask duration will adjust the microtasks so the start and end dates span within the duration of the macrotasks. Import the v2.xml under the folder 5.6b_updated schedule. Select Merge by ID for load options. This means that tasks are updated with a common ID to the tasks that you're importing. The Keep Tasks with Objects checkbox toggles whether tasks with objects assigned are preserved when making an update with Merge by ID. The Display Change List checkbox controls whether only the tasks with changes are displayed, specifically if the Show Changed microtasks is toggled or not. The Append Radio button adds the tasks in your schedule to the end of your current schedule, and the Override Radio button replaces the current schedule with the import. The Show Changed microtasks option displays tasks with modified microtasks and hides other macrotasks that do not have modifications. These are the updated task dates. The microtask dates will automatically adjust with that of the macrotasks, so the first microtask starts at the same time as the macrotask, and the last microtask ends at the same time as the macrotask. So what happens when the macrotask has been removed, but there has been microtasks previously attached to it? We can find out by importing the XML schedule file 2022-0209_v3.xml under the folder 5.6b_updated schedule. For this updated schedule, the structural framing macrotask has been removed. If you select Merge by ID and disable Key Tasks with Objects under Load Options, you will receive a warning as the 2 microtasks now do not have a macrotask to follow from. If you select Yes, the closest dated macro construction task will become the parent for the macrotasks. This macrotask date has been changed to the date of the original macrotask. If you select No, the closest dated macro construction task will try to match the start date of the removed task. The end date will be calculated based on this macrotask's original duration, which is 4 days after the 9th of February, 2022. For the microtasks, their dates remained unchanged. You can manually relink the tasks by clicking on the figure 8 icon in the microtask, but first make sure that micro option is enabled for the schedule. Then you can click on the return icon of the macrotask. The microtasks are now linked to the new macrotask.